At midnight, freezing at the ammo dump, I saw a jeep creep toward the gate with its lights out. Two black-faced men slipped in with a key, and one sounded drunk. I chambered a live round, aimed at the stranger calling himself Colonel Clark, and reached for the phone. Sergeant Wolinski says the Army places significant importance on protecting its bases, which must be why he keeps assigning me to guard duty. After all, who other than me has the skills necessary to thwart an Albanian sneak attack on Fort Dix, New Jersey? I knew wearing a heavy green winter coat, gloves, and a flaps-down Army hat made me look like a geek, but I planned to stay warm on guard duty tonight, no matter what the fashion cost. We were issued our M1S with a 5-shell clip, loaded into a truck, and after a 10-minute ride came to a halt near the ammo dump. "Your post, Eli," called out the driver. The duty officer walked to the back of the truck. "All right, Eli, do you remember your standing orders?" "I had the cheeseburger, side of fries, and a cherry Coke. I'm not crazy about being here either, but there is the right way, the wrong way, and the the Army way. I must stand my post until relieved, or blown up, or a hangnail causes me extreme pain. You'd better not screw this up." "What are they going to do, draft me?" "Whoops, too late. I'm not supposed to be here. Everybody on the base has heard your hard luck story. I'm going to keep on bitching until they let me out. I'm not going to die in Vietnam. Nobody wants to die in Vietnam. But you've got your duty to God and country. I'm as patriotic as the next guy. But what does Vietnam have to do with God or the United States? I hear they're all Buddhist over there. That lying draft board cheated me out of 2 years of my life, and I want them back. Tell it to the chaplain. Now stand your post. I'll be back at 0300 with your relief. Thanks for the sympathy." "You're welcome. Remember the password?" Snow White. I reluctantly took my place inside the compound. The duty officer gave me a farewell salute, locked the gate behind me, and then headed off to post the rest of the guards. Looking around the ammo dump, I was surrounded by a 10-foot-high barbed wire fence strung between thick wooden posts, and topped off with concertina wire coiled like a slinky. Along the top, concertina wire is a nasty barrier with thin razor blade edges that will slice you into little pieces if you try to cross it. I loaded my weapon and assumed my post next to a solid 20 by 30 metal bunker buried under several feet of dirt. A path surrounded the mound, worn bare over the years by the guard walking his post. A pipe sticking out of the dirt served as a ventilation shaft for a freestanding stove inside the bunker. I had an involuntary shiver and thought about how nice it would be to be inside and start a fire. I had no idea why the compound needed guarding in the first place, because the bunker appeared impossible to breach. The hundreds of ammo boxes stacked inside were secured behind a heavy metal door welded to 4-inch thick metal bars and fastened with genuine Yale locks to deeply buried cement posts. No way anyone could gain entrance without a key or a tank. If somebody showed up with a key, they were authorized. If they showed up with a tank, I sure as hell wouldn't stand in their way. The full moon provided some natural light, augmented by 2 overhead lights, one in the back near the bunker door, and one in the front near the compound entrance. A box mounted on the front light pole contained a ring-down phone that connected the ammo dump to the guard duty shack. I had arrived at 2100, so according to my watch, I had 5 hours left of freezing my ass off. The temperature continued to drop, and based on the number of my nearly frost-bitten fingers and toes, the temperature had to be near zero. I paced back and forth, hugging myself, and clapping my hands together to keep the circulation going. Another 2 hours passed and I hadn't seen a soul. The Army had built the Fort Dix ammo dump in the most desolate part of the base, so there wasn't even the occasional passing car to break up the monotony. I could picture the duty officer coming back and finding my corpse, stiff as a board, rifle frozen to my fingers. A little after midnight, I finally saw something move. A car's headlights headed my way, weaving back and forth like a drunken sailor. Suddenly the lights went out, but I could still hear the engine running. Thanks to the moonlight, I could make out the faint shape of a jeep creeping toward my position. I got down off the hill and crouched in the shadows between the overhead lights and the bunker. The jeep stopped about 200 yards from the gate and 2 figures climbed out. One caught his foot on the jeep's door frame and cried out after falling hard to the ground. I thought about calling the duty officer on the phone, but was afraid if I stepped out from the shadows I would lose the element of surprise. I could see the breath of the approaching men. The shortest of the pair kept panting and tripping on the uneven ground. They reached the outer wire, and instead of cutting it, the taller man looked around and then unlocked the gate with a key. The shorter man spoke. "Carlos, what are you doing with a key to the ammo dump, and where the hell is the guard?" I swore that shorty, as I decided to call him, sounded drunk. "Quiet, sir," said Carlos. "The guard might be asleep, and we don't want to wake him." "Why would you think that?" Sir, because the new trainees never stay awake past midnight at this remote post. That answer seemed to satisfy Shorty. I knew what the army expected of me and what my standing orders required: surrender the password or else. The two men stepped into the front lamppost circle of light, dressed in camouflage, each carrying a .45 caliber pistol and wearing blackface. Shaking from nervousness, but mainly the cold, I saw Shorty stumble, run into an empty trash barrel and curse again. Carlos raised his finger to his lip. "Will you please try to be quiet?" I thought. Who could sleep with all that noise? I stepped out of the bunker shadows and pointed my loaded M1 at the intruders. "Halt! Who goes there?" I must have surprised them because Shorty clutched his chest, like he had a sudden heart attack. "Jesus Christ, Private, you scared the shit out of me. What do you mean sneaking up on us like that?" "I'm not the one breaking into the ammo dump, Shorty. Here's the drill, I say. Halt! Who goes there? And you tell me the password." "Do you have any idea who I am?" Shorty asks. "I don't care who you are, Mr. Booze Breath. If you don't tell me the password,